So the core knowledge for this class is called the 7 C's formula. Okay, this is the backbone of professional communication. If you can pay attention to the 7 C's that we're going to talk about in every message that you try to deliver, in emails, in documents, in your speech, then you would have a very, very accurate communication style, which will make you stand out as a leader with excellent communication skill. So pay attention to this one because this is gold. All right, let's take a look at the first step. Okay, of course, in my classes, I try to explain to you the reasons why we need to adapt to these new ideas because I hope that you understand the fundamental knowledge of why we're discussing what we're discussing today. So I want you to understand the why. Let's start with why first. So consider this. As a professional, it's important to convey our message with absolute clarity and accuracy in a way that will be understood by any readers or audience, regardless of whether or not English is their first language. All right, let's take a look. Absolute clarity and accuracy. How do we do that? Whether or not your message is relevant. So if your audience does not speak, or English is not the first language, and you can still be able to communicate with them with absolute clarity and accuracy, that means they're a master communicator. Okay. The way we achieve, like what we talked about in the the presentation anxiety class, is that we try to use shorter sentences. We try to use simple words. Even if you're speaking to native speakers, I think most of the time that people, especially people in Asia, we want to tell people that our vocabulary level is good. So we try to use like a difficult sentences and difficult words just to show people that we know more words. But really, when you look at like a Steve Jobs, like effective presenters, master presenters, they use simple English. Did you know that Steve Jobs used English vocabulary levels of 5th grade? Okay, so grade 5 students, elementary school students, grade 5, Steve Jobs used vocabulary with the level of grade 5 students because he wants to make sure his keynote speech can be spread, delivered among majority of the people. And another interesting fact is that Bill Gates delivered his message with grade 10 vocabulary levels. So that would be high school or junior high school student, no, high school, senior high school student English levels. So when was the last time you watched Bill Gates' speech? Like I finished the entire speech. I don't know. For me, I never really pay attention to Bill Gates' speech, but I watch many Steve Jobs' speech. Did you know why? Because it's easier for me to understand. Okay? So that's the difference. So don't think of that, you have to use difficult words so your message would sound smart. That's not how communication works. Use simple English because your communication requires you to communicate with different group of people, and even for people who does not speak English, or I should say that people's English are not their first language, they will also have to be able to understand with absolute clarity and accuracy. So consider the crowd, use the language that would fit the situation. All right, let's take a look. Why is this important? Efficiency of presentation. Right after the presentation, 50% of the 50% of the content is remembered. So as soon as the presentation finished, the audience only remember half of the things you said. you said. 30 days later, 1 month later, only 20%. So your message has to be very, very accurate for them to remember within this 50%, is there any accurate message that they can remember? So information transfer depends on efficiency. So your information that you want to transfer onto your audience, you need efficiency. Otherwise, when they remember this 50%, and in this 50%, there's nothing valuable within the 50%. Maybe they just remember a little joke, a little story you tell them. So within the story, is there any relevant, valuable information that your audience remember with the important message that you include? Very important. That's communication proficiency. Okay? So if you want to be accurate and clear at all levels, you have to consider several parts. Your script. So that's the message that you try to tell. Okay? Everything you write down, the documents, the emails, your speech, the script. Is there a structure? Is there a clear, organized structure within your message? Because when there is a structure, it's easier for people to go back to that memory lane and remember, okay, so this speaker told me this. First, the problem, then the solution. And what's good about this, then you talk about the benefit. So is there a structure to follow? Clear structure, okay? Not sentence structure. I'm talking about the order of the information. Is it easy for us to remember? Then the sentence. Long sentence or short sentence? Okay? Complex sentence or simple sentence? It matters. Word choice. Easy words, difficult words, emotional words, or boring words? Word choice. Very important. Tonality. Especially in presentation, your body language, your voice would be very important for your message delivery. So if your voice sounds really monotone, very flat, very boring, then it's not accurate communication, because when you are communicating something of importance, something of value, but your voice, your body language does not show the importance or the values, then the receivers will not get what you are trying to tell them. So communication precision all depends on everything in communication. So we have the script, the structure, sentence, word choice, tonality. That's your body language. That's your voice. That's your content. That's the script. Okay? Everything has to be accurate and clear. So at all levels. So as a professional, you have to take this into account, that you consider all these 5 elements for your message to be accurate. Okay, if you don't really consider, you just think about, okay, I have to use the right word, the right sentence, that wouldn't cut it. Okay, it's not that simple. Communication is very, very complex, but once you understand the concept and start practicing and get better at it, then you will become very good. And that is why, like in most English classes, you cannot get to this level of accuracy, because we only talk about word, not word choices. We're just talking about vocabulary, and we talk about sentences. You don't talk about structures or script. Okay, we don't talk about tonalities, and you only focus on 2 elements here. Okay, that for this is only half an element, so you only focus on 1.5 elements here. Of course, in most English classes that you attend does not help you with your business or your business communication, because it's not focusing on the wrong area. Let's keep going. So other factors that we have to consider is that negative evaluation. Sometimes we give words that has negative meanings. So for example, if I say something like, oh, this concept is very difficult to understand, I don't expect you to understand this right away, but just keep listening and see what, just pick up as much as you can. I don't really trust that you have the ability to get this information right now. That's negative evaluation. So if a speaker tells me I'm not smart enough to understand, So I would be like, okay, let's take out my phone right now. Okay, I'll just check my phone. I'm not going to listen to the speaker who think I'm stupid. Okay, so that's negative evaluation. If you give words to make the audience feel uncomfortable, to feel negative about themselves, their brain shuts down. Then that's inaccurate communication because you send out a message to tell the audience that, okay, this part, I don't think you understand. Then their brain shuts down and start receiving anything. So that's negative evaluation that you might need to consider strongly about, that you don't want to make this kind of mistakes. Moving on, ignore your audience. Okay, so when you look at the audience, do they look engaged? Do they look bored? Do they understand what you're trying to tell them? Does your message have meanings, has values to your audience? You have to try to put them, your audience, in the center of your presentation. When you prepare, when you deliver it, they are the center. Don't ignore them. If you feel like you're the expert, okay, your message is so important. But when you deliver that, when you look at your audience, they look bored, that they're playing with their phones, they're talking to each other, then that means that you lost your audience. And that means it doesn't matter how you think about your message, the audience just doesn't care. That's inaccurate communication. Number 3, ask too many questions. Remember in other classes, I said that one of the most effective way to engage your audience is to ask questions. But sometimes people just took my advice too far. And every point they add a question. So when you ask so many questions in maybe 20-minute presentation, 30-minute presentation, it's really annoying. Because the audience will be like, oh, stop with the question, just get to the point. Okay, so how many questions is too many? You have to be the best judge because you're looking at your audience, you have to read your audience. So, but I would suggest that you don't want to go with too many questions. So one idea, one concept. So you have a question to hook them in the beginning, one question to hook them at the end of the presentation when you summarize. And in between, probably 1 or 2 questions would suffice, but really depends on your audience and how much time you have, how many topics they are trying to cover. Okay, so don't overkill this. Okay, don't ask too many questions because it's quite annoying. And number 4 is you forget to clarify. So how do we clarify in presentation? When you know that this idea or concept that you are covering in the presentation is a little complex, might need more time to process the information. After you talk about this general ideas about this, you want to give them a quick summary and say that, okay, to put it simply, the idea just means this and that in a simple, understand metaphor or examples, so they would understand what what you're trying to say. But if you don't clarify with your audience, okay, it's very easy to lose them because you are the expert, you know the topic, but it doesn't mean your explanation is clear enough. So you have to try to clarify, to give them a simple version of the idea throughout your presentation so they get what you said. So the most effective presenters, they always clarify. Okay? So they would say, okay, so this device can do this and that. So it's kind of like a calculator. You know, calculator is something that everyone knows how to use. And you provide a relationship between, a connection between this object and that device, and they will understand the ideas behind the operation or the purpose. Then they would quickly understand what you're trying to say. So always remember to clarify complex ideas. And number 5, forget to summarize. That's one thing that a lot of people forget to do because they want to finish quickly and get out of the situation. But every time when you finish a topic, because one presentation might have like a a main topic, a subtopic, okay, and like several topics throughout the presentation. But every time when you finish a main topic and when you finish the whole presentation, you have to give a quick summary, just 1 or 2 sentences of what you just talked about. That's very important. So in conclusion, it's not what you said, it's how you say it. Not what you said, it's how we deliver this message. Is there structure? Is there good tone? Is there body language? Is it easy for people to understand? That's how we say it, not what you said. So you can prepare just the script, a very nice looking presentation, very nice looking PowerPoint, and you have a really well-written script. But still, the audience would not like it if you don't consider other things. Your voice, your body language, your word choice, okay? Your sentence structure, your presentation structures. That's how you say it. The message is not so important if you don't know how to command your audience emotion. Really, deep down inside, people behave. People make decisions based on emotion, not logic. So people make decisions based on emotion, and later they justify with logic. So you have to make sure that the order is right. Make sure that they feel something inside. Then provide them with the logic so they would act according to what you want them to do. That's what presentation is designed for. So persuasive presentation is all about changing people's emotional state. So word choices becomes very important.